Today we're gonna be making a shandy, and a shandy is actually just lemonade added to a beer. So we're gonna make a simple beer, we're gonna make a lemonade, we're gonna add it together, we're gonna carbonate it, and we're gonna taste it. Let's get started. If you don't know what a shandy is, it's actually like lemonade and beer combined, and it's usually done as a cocktail. Well, today we're gonna make a shandy all in one, so it'll just be in the bottle, ready to refrigerate and enjoy. So to get this started, the first thing I wanna do is hydrate our yeast. And for that, I'm using Safe Ale US04, which is a great ale yeast. We actually use it for almost all ciders, ales, lower ABV types of stuff. Now, you don't have to hydrate your yeast if you don't want to. I'm doing it just because it makes it nice on TV. I have a partial packet here, but I know it's mostly full, so I'm still calling this half a packet, even though it's really probably just slightly less than half a packet. Just, you know, full disclosure and all. Just gonna put some into our container here. Yeah, that looks like plenty. We're making another beer right after this one, so gonna use the rest in that. And I have some warm water. I know it's 104.2 degrees, or was 5 minutes ago when I measured it. So I'm just gonna pour a couple of ounces of that water onto our yeast. Give it a little mixeroonie, maybe a little more water. And you just wanna kind of dissolve it in there. Set that to the side. Okay, next, we need to make our hop tea. I'm not gonna be doing a long boil on this. This is a super simple process. So I have a pot with a lid. I have 0.4 ounces of Cascade hops. These are just hop pellets. I use Cascade because it tends to add kind of a citrusy flavor to things already. So citrusy lemonade, it just works. So I'm gonna dump that into a pot. I'm gonna take more of our water. Now we started with 128 ounces of water here on purpose so that we have a gallon batch. I know this is going to lose some water, but not a tremendous amount as it cooks. Boy, wait, I didn't explain what I'm doing with this yet. So I'm gonna fill this pot maybe a little over a third of the way, but I'm like all over the place today. Put the lid on. This is gonna go on the stove and it's gonna come to a boil. We're gonna let this boil for 20 to 30 minutes. What that's going to do is it's going to isomerize all of the hops and let them give off their flavors and their aromas that'll help bitter the beer. And the lid is to keep it from boiling off because we wanna end up with about as much as we started with. So let me go put this on the stove. I'll be right back. Okay, so our yeast is yeasting. Looked like it was starting to give off a little bit there. And our hops are hopping. So what we want to do now, I worked on that one all morning, is we have a pitcher of warm water. And I have here, this is an extract beer in case I didn't mention it, and it's a dry malt extract beer. Now, I want to talk about that for a minute. I used to believe that extracts were automatically inferior to an all grain. They're not necessarily. They do have more limitations because you don't have as much variety and things like that. But in some ways, they're better, especially for beginners, because you don't have to worry about efficiency and things like that. It's already been done for you. The efficiency is good. Now, you can add extra grains to this to change it and all that kind of thing, but because we're gonna be adding lemonade, I'm not so sure that extra grains are really gonna make all that much difference. So this is CBW Golden Light DME by Breeze, okay? You can get it off Amazon, you can get it at your local homebrew shop. Now, why do I like dry malt over liquid malt? Easy. Liquid malt comes in large containers that you have to use soon after opening because they do spoil. We had one go bad. It's designed to make 5 gallons at a time or more. We don't make that much beer at a time, so to me, it ends up getting kind of wasted. This stuff is shelf stable. I like shelf stable. It works for me. We have a spattle. It's a spoon, it's a paddle, it's both. Link in the description. I love this thing. Okay, so the trick here is warm water, right? Over 100 degrees, but not too hot. You don't want it boiling or anything. And I'm gonna pour this in carefully, just a little bit at a time, and keep moving it as I go. It does dissolve, but you don't want it to clump. That's the idea. So it's just a kind of a coordinated effort, you know? Just keep mixing. Now, if you prefer to do the full boil where you add the hops during it and all that, feel free. I'm not gonna tell you you shouldn't do that. I just don't see the need for this kind of beer, and it's a little extra hassle, a lot more time, and just, I don't know, not necessary. Some people will say that it'll change the isomerization of the hops, and those people would actually be correct, but we've done it both ways and never really seen that much of a difference, so I'm not worried about it. The only difference is you do have to mix it up really, really good if you don't do the boil. So you do have a little extra mixing time. Like I got clumps everywhere in here because, you know, I just dumped it all in towards the end. I got tired of standing there holding it and I was talking, so I was distracted. Yeah, if you don't mix it all the way through, eventually it'll dissolve, the yeast will get to it, but you won't have an appropriate or accurate original gravity reading, which is something we're gonna be getting soon, but not until the hops get added because I wanna make sure I get all the liquid in here for that reading. I think it's pretty well mixed. Okay, I boiled the hops for about 20 minutes with the lid on, and it stunk up the house and they look really nasty. If you haven't figured it out, we're not huge fans of hops around here, but they are a necessary part of beer and they do add a little bit of extra elements of complexity that I do like. So, I also have a wire mesh strainer. It's not even wire, it's actually nylon, I think, that we sanitized. That way I don't get all the hop solids. There's gonna be some small particles that come through, and yeah, I probably could have found a piece of cheesecloth, but if you watched our video on how we set everything up, you know we're like in a cocoon right now and it would be difficult to do. So I'm just gonna dump this through the strainer and into our wort. And it catches a lot of solids. Oops, and apparently splashes people. See, caught a lot of solids.
I was in the splash zone.
All right, let me get rid of this. I'll be right back. I just wanna mix that through. There's gonna be some solids in here still, and they'll fall out of suspension and shouldn't really be an issue. Before I pour it into there, I wanna show you what our yeast is doing. Okay, so as you can see, there's like some foam in there, there's a little bit of whiteness, there's some bubbles. Our yeast is happy and healthy and ready to make some beer. There's a couple ways we could do this. We can just pour the yeast right into here and then pour that into there, or I can pour the yeast into there. I think I'll just pour the yeast into there separately. This is not that hot. Let me check the temperature though to make sure. 103.5. That's like a radio station or something, isn't it? 103.6 is the final on that. So it's totally fine to put yeast in there, so it doesn't really matter. How do you think we should do it?
I don't know. I'm more curious about your gravity reading. You want everything combined?
Well, yeah, there's liquid here that's going to be part of the gravity reading. There's liquid there. I say we can probably put the yeast right in first and then rinse it out with the wort. So let's just do that. So I'm just going to take my yeast, swirl it around, get them all into liquid. That way they can all fulfill their destiny and dump it in. And the reason why I'm putting it in first is because there's probably going to be a lot of yeast stuck to the funnel that, you know, they wouldn't get to fulfill their destiny if I didn't do that. So now I get to pour this through the funnel and into the fermenter. Now, before anybody freaks out that I'm oxidizing the wort, yes, I am, on purpose, because in the beginning phase, yeast actually use oxygen to build up a colony. So we want to oxidize, and this is a great way to do it. Once alcohol is present, though, you don't want more oxygen. So just now is safe. After this, not so much. How fancy of a pour can I do? That's probably about it. Okay.
You got some goop in there. Are we okay with that goop?
I'm okay with that goop not being in there. There's enough stuff in there already. We don't need more. By the way, that goop was actually hops residue, so it's not necessary. Normally, I would say put an airlock on. This time, we're going to use a blow-off. But before I do that, let's find out what our original gravity is. I'm expecting it to be somewhere in like the 1.035 to 1.045 range, something along those lines. It smells like beer, which is, you know, probably good because it is a beer. Well, it's just always good to describe, you know. If they don't know what it smells like, they can't experience it like we do. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. 1.040. What does that mean? That is our starting gravity. It will actually go down from there, which means closer to the 1.000 mark. And as it does, it's producing alcohol. 1.040 is approximately a little bit over 5%. By the time we carbonate and everything, it'll probably be 5.5%. But we're going to be adding lemonade to this, so it might be a little lower. And since everything was sanitized in, I can just dump this right back in here without any worry, except overflow of the foam once fermentation starts up. That's something we do have to be concerned with.
Yeah. So we're just going straight to a blow-up tube?
Well, it's up to you. Do you want to try an airlock first and see what happens?
Yes.
It's a fairly low gravity, so I don't think
let's start with an airlock.
All right, so we're going to start with an airlock, but if it turns into a blow-off tube, I'll let you know. All right, so I'm just going to put an airlock and a bung on this. We have our notes, and this is going to go sit in our ferment station. If you don't know what that is, it's literally just a cupboard where we keep all of our stuff, but I did a video on it.
But because we filled it so high and we're not sure how active this fermentation will be, it's actually going to be sitting on a lipped cookie tray.
Yep.
You know, with edges. So
just in case of overflow. Yeah. That way it stays contained instead of all over the kitchen. But yeah, see you in a couple weeks when this is all done for the next step. All right, it's been like 3 weeks, which is far too long. I'm pretty sure this was ready 2 weeks ago, but we're getting to it now, and that's okay. Before we take readings on the beer part of this, let's make the lemonade part of this. And for that, we need 52 ounces of water, which is exactly what Derica has.
Dun, dun, dun.
By the way, I'm using the lemonade recipe from the Real Lemon Juice website because that was the easiest one that I found, and we're using this stuff because they had it at my grocery store and I didn't have to peel and juice like 20,000 lemons to make it. So that's why we're doing it this way. 52 ounces of water, 1 cup of sugar, and that's just regular white granulated sugar, and 1 cup of lemon juice. Wouldn't be a City Steading Brew show if I didn't spill something. That's a lot of lemon juice. You don't want that in your eyes, which is why Derica's shielding her.
Please don't.
By the way, we're using our new bucket from North Mountain Supply. We're trying this thing out. It actually is great because it's semi-see-through and it has measurements on the side, both in metric and in American. Now, the denominations aren't super, super tight, but you can get an idea. Like right now, we have about 2 liters or just over half a gallon in here.
Before we get too far, could you please do me a favor and write down your fancy schmancy lemonade recipe on our ingredients list?
But I have it right here on my phone. Of course, if you wanted to use real lemons, like actual lemons, you could totally do that. You just need 1 cup of juice. Now I'm going to use the spattle, which is a spoon and a paddle, all in one, link in the description below, to mix this up. And we'll have our lemonade.
I don't need to stabilize that.
It's not going anywhere.
Big bucket.
The reason I like this bucket, though, is because it's semi-opaque, so you can actually see the level. A lot of the are semi-transparent.
Yes.
But that would also be semi-opaque, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So a lot of the buckets you can't see into, and this is a very light colored liquid. I can clearly see the level, so that actually works out really, really well. We might start using this for some major brews that have a lot of fruit in them. And now I'm going to shut up while I mix this because I'm pretty sure our microphone portion is done. So we're going to just set this over to the side for the moment. And now we're going to bring out the beer half. It was just right there. And it's sort of cleared, but not fully. It's got a little haze to it, but I'm pretty sure it's done. We are going to take a reading on it right now to find out for sure.
It's a crazy color.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. 1.006. So I'm going to do some quick calculations for you now, just to see where the beer is at. So the beer, 1.040 minus 1.006, came out to 0.034 used gravity times 131.25, because this is a lower ABV, gives us about 4.5%. After carbonating, that'll be about 5%. But we're going to dilute it with about half of this much of lemonade. So that means we're going to be somewhere around like 3.5% as a finished brew for this. You've been asking for a low ABV beverage for a while, and she loves lemonade. I thought this was like the perfect thing to make.
So now we're going to rack this into our lemonade.
Directly into our lemonade.
Okay.
Yep. And right now it's at the 2 liter mark, so I'll know how much we have, and that way I can actually calculate a little bit closer on the actual dilution rate.
Are we going to take another gravity reading once it's all combined, or?
I don't know that we should. We didn't take one of just the lemonade, so
okay.
I don't know that it really matters.
Okay, that's fine.
It just doesn't matter.
All right, but it does matter that I move my destination.
Oh yeah.
Lower than my source, because we're racking now.
And I'm leaving the cap on the auto siphon because there's a good lees keg in the bottom there, and I don't want to disturb that and get it all in there. So just get it going, and we'll see you in a couple minutes. All right, I just want to give this a quick stir just to make sure it's all blended together. And there's a couple things that we want to do. One of them is there's been some concern about pH because of the amount of lemon juice, and I can't disagree. Obviously, Derek is the one that was concerned about it. So let me do a quick pH reading on this.
The pipettes are over there. I don't know if you want me to go get it.
Probably just gonna grab it off of the spattle.
Oh.
See, it's a spoon. It's a paddle. Use it as a spoon.
It's both.
Actually, I can just.
Yeah, you can just do some drips.
A couple of drips is all I need. It's pretty low. It's between 3 and 3.5. So my thinking is this. Because we're going to be carbonating it, natural carbonating, we want the yeast to be able to carbonate. I know they'll probably start up and maybe carbonate enough, but you know what? I think I'd like to add just a little bit of potassium bicarbonate to take that pH level up just a touch. But before I do that, I actually want to give a quick taste of this to see what it tastes like. It's working. It's not the most effective, but...
Oh, you got a Easter right there.
I got a spoon. Look at that. See? Gotta use it the way it was intended. I'm pretty sure this isn't what they intended. It smells like a beer. Oh, carbonated and cold? I think that's going to be really nice. Wow. Okay. So, we're going to add a little bit of potassium bicarbonate. Let me find that. Every time we use potassium bicarbonate to buffer, because that's what that's called, I usually start with half teaspoon. I end up adding a full teaspoon. So you know what? We're just going to do a full teaspoon.
But
right
he's going to put it in very slowly.
Yeah, because this could erupt.
And I'm going to stir, I think.
Okay. You ready? The acids and the bases combine together and they can foam up. Not this time.
Not this time.
Yeah, it's a wider area, so it didn't have to... Usually when we do it in the glass containers, it can really...
Doing a little bit.
It's doing some foam. People always ask what's an alternative to the potassium bicarbonate if they really wanted to. I've heard of people using like eggshells. I don't know that I'd like that idea, but I've heard of people doing it. Other people have ground up seashells, which I like even less. And then you can also use other chemicals, like baking soda is actually sodium bicarbonate. Now, the problem with baking soda is if you use too much, like more than a teaspoon in a batch like this, you're likely to start tasting the salt aspect of it. So that's why I don't like to use baking soda. We have used it, and it works fine if you don't need much. So I'm just going to get another quick pH reading here. I'm not looking for ideal conditions. I'm just looking for not horrible conditions. Yeah. That's the best way I can describe it. Just so that we'll get a little bit of fermentation from this is all I really want. That probably did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're somewhere between 3.5 and 4.0 for pH, which, just so you're aware, is not actually ideal. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's close. All we need is for this to ferment a little bit of the sugars, which brings me to the next thing that we're going to talk about. I just need this to ferment a little bit of the sugars to create carbonation. You might be thinking, but Brian, you just put a whole cup of sugar into that batch. Yes, I did. But we're going to be using my carbonation gadget and a plastic bottle so that we can stop that fermentation at the appropriate time. But for now, what we want to do is get that mixed up, and you've been mixing it. It's mixed. It's mixed. And we're going to start putting this into bottles.
Now, are we going to add additional sugar for carbonation, or are we just going to let
We're just going to let some of that sugar ferment.
So it'll be less sweet in the final...
42 grams out of 400, 1/10 less is sweet.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. All right, so the next step, we're gonna put our bottling wand onto our auto siphon and we're gonna start putting this into bottles. We're gonna start with the plastic bottle so I can show you what we're gonna do with that one. All right, so we're getting ready to bottle. So what we wanna do is use a bottling wand, which is this. It has the springy thingy on the end, also known as a stem valve. And I just wanna put that on the tubing of our auto siphon. I just go like maybe 1/2 inch. Just enough that it won't pop off unexpectedly, but not enough that it stays on there permanently, unless you want to have 2 auto siphons, which is totally fine too. Speaking of auto siphon, I'm going to pop the cap off the end so this can go all the way down into the bottom of that bucket. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. By the way, we're using the plastic bottle. This is a actual plastic beer bottle. Just one of these, and that's important why it's just one. The rest are glass because we have something that we have to do later that you don't want to do with plastic. But there's something I do want to do with plastic right now. First, we're going to put some beer into that plastic bottle. Okay, So we have our plastic bottle full. Now we want to use a plastic bottle for this and glass bottles for all the rest. There's reasons to be explained in a little while. But what I need to do on this is a little bit of insurance yeast because, like I said, this has been sitting for far too long. I don't know if there's any viable yeast left in it. So I have here a partially opened used packet of EC1118, which is a great yeast for this particular purpose. And I am literally just getting out maybe 10 or 12 grains of yeast that I'm going to drop in there. Just barely anything at all. Just enough to consume a little bit of the sugars, okay? Don't get crazy on me. Then I have a special kind of cap. It screws on, but it also at the top has the standard connections for like a keg. And then, thank you, Vanna, we have our carbonation apparatus, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call this thing. But this is actually made for carbonating. So you take a CO2 canister, you put it in there, and then when you attach this to your bottle, like that, now it'll carbonate that bottle if you open the pressure. But the important things are, it has a regulator here so I can turn up or down. You want to turn it off. Make sure it's all the way off. And it has a pressure regulator. It has a gauge, okay? So that way we know what's happening inside here because that's always been the secret when it comes to carbonation. You never know what's happening. Does it take 3 days? Does it take a week? Does it take a month? You never know. And in this case, we need to stop that carbonation because if we don't, this will explode. I will tell you right now, if you do not do all this extra stuff, it will explode.
Why is that? Because we have far too much sugar in here to stop at just the pressure that we want for our carbonation. It's going to continue to ferment.
10 times as much, actually. So it would explode. So what I want to do, because we tested this before, I know somewhere between 25 and 30 PSI on this gauge gives me a really awesome amount of carbonation. So we just keep this one out, keep an eye on it, and when that gauge reads 25 to 30, we pasteurize the whole batch, except this one. This one, I just throw it in the fridge and I'm going to drink it like that night.
Yep.
It's safe. You could totally still drink it. It's all good. But that is the secret to this entire thing. So that way you can have a sweet brew that is carbonated and pasteurized at just the right time. So we're just gonna put the rest of these into glass bottles. We'll be back with you in a second. All right, so we bottled and we have this many bottles. One of them has 13. Yeah, she counted. One of them has a little bit less in it. I'm gonna go with it anyway. It's not that much lower. But we do need to put insurance yeast into each bottle, okay? I used to do it in the whole batch and I kind of figured out that that defeats the purpose because the yeast might not get through the whole thing. So literally just a few grains in each one. Again, don't get too crazy because the more you put in, the more lees and sediment you're going to have in the bottom of the bottle. Now, of course, had I not waited 3 weeks before we did this process, we might not have had to even use insurance yeast, but because we did wait, that's why we call it insurance yeast.
It's insurance.
You don't know if you need it until you need it, and then by then it's too late.
So as you've probably noticed, these are not swing top bottles. That means we need bottle caps.
That's right.
So I'm going to take 13 of these bottle caps and put them in this Pyrex here that I have a little bit of our sanitizer liquid from Turbos in.
And to make bottle capping possible, North Mountain Supply was gracious enough to send us their Italian-made bottle capper. Now, it's actually really, really convenient to use. What you want to do, get your setup here, and it actually has a marking where the top of the bottle should be, which is really convenient. Put it in the middle there just like that. There's a couple different cap sizes for this, but it's really simple. You just grab a bottle cap, maybe dry it off a little bit. And then the magnet in here holds your bottle cap in place. I like to hold the bottle. And ideally you have this attached to like a bench in your garage or something.
Or on the floor.
Yeah, or on the floor is okay too. And then you just apply some pressure, just like that, all the way down. And then remove the bottle.
And not break it.
And not break the bottle as you take it out. And then it's capped, just like that.
It's actually pretty cool.
We'll have a link to this in the description. The people over at North Mountain Supply have really been awesome. They're sending us stuff to test out and try. And that's the first time I bottle capped with this. You saw how hard it was to do, right? Yeah. I haven't capped a bottle in 20 years. And you don't have to apply much pressure at all.
No.
The hardest part was getting it back out, and I think that's because of the magnet. So we're gonna cap some bottles.
It's probably not very exciting TV though.
Yeah, so I'm gonna shut the camera off now. See you in a minute. Okay, so as we've been using this, we got into kind of a routine in a system. Derica puts the cap up here, I put the bottle on the thing and pull the handle, line it up. And the beautiful thing is, this is like no pressure. It actually says use one finger. Now, it does hold the bottle sometimes. The cap just kind of gets caught in there. Just give it a little twist and it comes out. Things I'm loving about this. I've used the double wing ones before where you had to kind of guess how much pressure to apply. This takes the guesswork right out of it. Just, it's lovely. Let's just say that. It's just an awesome machine to use. We're going to be bottle capping a whole lot more.
Yeah, it's actually really satisfying.
Yeah, this is why we didn't do a lot of bottle capping. For one reason was because, well, it just didn't seem all that reliable. Like, and the machine that we had wasn't all that great. This thing is phenomenal. Like I said, we'll have a link to the description below. But also because I always thought that you're throwing away the bottle cap at the end. But also, we've learned that carbonating in a capped bottle is probably better because seals can leak and things like that. So you'll get a better seal, you'll get a better carbonation. But, I mean, that's just awesome.
And North Mountain Supply has, like, so many different
bottle cap styles. They just sent us a bag of a bunch of them.
So you can customize these to your heart's content, and that's really cool.
Okay, so these bottles now are going to go into what we call the bomb shelter, which is really just a tub from Lowe's with a lid, and it's just thick plastic. So that way, if something goes wrong and one of these bottles just overcarbonates for whatever reason, we don't have to worry about shards of glass flying through the air. But remember, we do have the control, we'll call that the check or control bottle that I'm going to look at every single day. That's important. You do not want to let it go too far. You want
also, the closer it gets to that mark, that carbonated level, you probably want to check it more than just once a day.
Yeah.
Because
you could go past it pretty quick.
Depending on your conditions.
And like I said, once it hits that level, we're going to pasteurize all of these bottles. That one is going to go into the fridge. And the next time you see us, we'll be back for a tasting. Had to use my MacGyver knife. Okay, so as you saw, it carbonated.
We have Shandy.
It's beautiful. Now there's a little bit of a story here. Gotta tell you, we were a little bit concerned that this might have overcarbonated, and here's why.
Remember when we told you when you're doing the process of having the gauge that you want to look at it a lot?
Yeah, you really want to look at it a lot. Like, don't skip it for 4 days or 5 days like I did. It had gone way past what it should be for carbonation. We were concerned. We were
concerned not only that we broke our gauge, but that we were going to have exploding issues.
So we started pasteurizing immediately. We had what, like 12 bottles altogether, 13 bottles? I think we had 12. We had 13 with the plastic tester.
Right.
We lost 3. Now what happened is the caps blew off. If you saw the community post several days ago, it was from the Shandy. The caps blew off. The bottles did not break. So that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know what the actual ABV of this is anymore. We had it set to something like 5% or 4% or something like that. It's probably a little bit higher because I think more of the sugars in the lemonade converted.
Right, which means we also don't have an ending gravity because that extra sugar that we put in there,
some of it got chewed up. And I mean, I could take one off of this, but I'm not going to because it's just not that important.
It just doesn't matter.
So for that reason, right away, we have to look at repeatability. It's probably like a 6 to try to do what we did.
I need my sheet.
Okay. Oh, yeah. We're using new sheets today for our tastings. We have these brand new sheets that I made up. Some of you might have seen them. See if it'll focus on it. Look, cover your eyes. There we go. There's our new sheet. I can actually put the PDF of this on our website so that people can download their own. Did you take my pen? No, you did not.
No, I did not.
Where is my pen? Ah, there's my pen. All right. I know there was a lot of discussion about these sheets and do we need them? Do we not need them? Let me just explain a couple things that's going to happen. First, this gives us an actual thing to have to make the scorecard that goes on our website. Second, it says what it is on it. Third is the date. Now that's important because we never really record the tasting date. So from this to next year, 1 year from now, that is the 1 year tasting. It sets a standard, okay? So from the date that we taste it, 1 year later, we taste it again. Then we have our scores. Repeatability. On this one, see, I was going off the old system. The new system is only 1 through 5. 3 being normal, 4 being good repeatability, 5 being easily repeatable, 2 being less than normal, and 1 being not really that repeatable at all. I'm going to say this is like a 2 to a 3 for me.
Well, yeah. If you...
But we each score our own.
Did what we said to do and didn't do what we actually ended up doing, then I think repeatability would be higher than what I'm actually going to give it.
Yeah, because this is actually pretty easy.
This ended up being a chaos brew because we didn't pay attention. We were bad.
Yeah, but only at the end. Up until then, it was actually pretty simple. I gave it a 3 for repeatability. I just didn't think it was harder to do than most or super simple either. Okay.
I give it a 2 because there's too many variables here that, even though I don't like numbers, I do like numbers. I like to know things, and that makes me feel better. Even though I know deep in my heart it just doesn't matter, but I still like to know.
Okay, so the rest of our scoring, we have 4 categories that we do. We're going to do appearance, aroma, flavor, and intent. I'll get to what each of them means as we go, but just know that they're 1 through 5. 3 is basically like your neutral or average. 4 is slightly above average. 5 would be great. 2 would be below average, and 1 would be horrible. Okay, so on appearance, that's when we look at how clear is it? Does it have an appealing appearance? Does it look nice? Don't jump ahead. I'm going to say this is a little cloudy, and it could be cloudy because the lemonade, that kind of thing. So on appearance, because I know what this is supposed to be, I'm still going to give this, well, what did you give it for appearance?
I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4 as well.
It looks like what my mind says a shandy should look like.
Yeah, it really does.
I've never had a shandy before. I didn't even know what they were until Brian said,
lemonade and beer. I mean, that's lemonade and beer. You know, it's a little cloudy, but I'm okay with it. That's why it's not a 5.
Fits my perception, though, which is why I couldn't go lower than a 4.
Next is aroma. And on that, we want to smell it. Does it have any off smells, off flavors? Well, not flavors yet, but anything unappealing? I'm definitely getting like the maltiness and a little bit of lemon. Most definitely. Not so much hops. I gave it a 4. What did you do?
I gave it a 4 too. But
we're too similar.
I'm having a handicap issue right now because my allergies are going crazy.
Mine are not, so you're accurate. How's that sound?
Okay.
Because my allergies aren't acting up. She gave it the same score as me, therefore she must be right.
But it smells like a beer.
It really does.
It doesn't smell
light.
Off. It smells
fresh.
Light. Yeah, it has all the things that I want it to smell. I would probably give it a higher aroma if I was getting more citrus notes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of citrus coming from it, and that could be partially because it may have fermented a little further. So this is almost an unfair test of it, but it is what we have, so that's what we're going with. Next is flavor, and that's pretty simple. What do we think of it? Wow, that is a unique experience.
Yeah.
I'll be totally honest. We tasted one the other day just to make sure this wasn't going to be a total flop of a video and have it to go out completely dry. This is unique. Things that I'm getting on the flavors, definitely getting a beer quality to it. It definitely has the malty roasted notes. Not super dark. It's a very light beer, like a pale ale kind of thing. There's a little bit of hops, but not a tremendous amount of hops character, which I'm happy about. Some people might like this a little more hoppy than others. The lemonade flavor seems like it could be a little stronger. Now, I know when you make it as a cocktail, there's all different ratios, but half and half lemonade to beer seems popular. We did more like a 1/3, 2/3 lemonade, so maybe we didn't do quite enough lemonade. But it tasted really good at the time that we were bottling it. That's the interesting part. So the sweetness of the lemonade may have actually been making up for any lack of citrus.
Yeah, I think some of the sweetness got 8.
Yeah, it's not nearly as sweet as it was.
Yeah. Some of the things that I'm really enjoying about it is how it feels in the mouth. It has a nice creaminess to it, which I'm attributing to the carbonation. Again, we got those little tiny bubbles.
Carbonation's great. It actually carbonated beautifully. More than we might have wanted. But actually, it didn't seem to carbonate more than we wanted. It carbonated just right.
And for pairing a beer with a lemonade-type beverage, I am enjoying and appreciating the light beer aspect, where normally light beer is not my thing. And this particular...
Yeah. I mean, are you getting any objectionable flavors or anything like that?
I'm not. I could drink a lot of
All right,
this.
you know what? I have to ding my appearance score by 1. I got floaters. Well, yeah, and that's because of the insurance yeast.
I do not. You poured the
I poured the last into mine. Okay, so I'm not going to ding it because
like,
that is the bottom of the bottle. That just happens.
He hates that. Yeah, I don't know why he did that.
Because I was being polite. So flavor. Overall, yeah, I mean, this is pleasant. I'm not getting anything wrong. Like, there's no fruity notes, there's no sour notes, there's no sulfur notes, there's nothing like that at all. So, okay. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 4 because the only thing that I want stronger is more lemon.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 as well, so we're on par there. Okay, intent is our last score. Now, this is kind of hard to quantify, but let me explain what I mean. If someone says to you, this is a shandy, and you taste it, does it taste as it's supposed to taste? Like, I give the example of a maple wine. Do you taste maple? Or a maple apple wine. Do you taste maple and apple? This is obviously not maple and apple. This is a basically lemon beer. Do you taste lemon and do you taste beer? Does the label say what it really is? Is the gist of what the intent is. So for that, I mean, yeah, there's only a couple ways to go on that. I gave it a 5.
I gave it a 3.
Really?
I gave it a 3 because I think the lemon should be punchier, and also I think it should be sweeter, which
but that comes down to flavor and things like that.
We did not intend to overcarbonate, and we did.
But I would still have to see. This is the first time using this new scoring system, so we're getting some of the bugs worked out. But is it still a shandy? Sure. Then why is it a 3?
Because it's not what I intended it for it to be.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going off of more general, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, in other words, if I handed somebody a blueberry melomel and they said, I'm not getting any blueberry from this.
Well, this is why we have 2 scorecards.
Okay, that's fair. I'll go with that.
All right, so when we add this up, do we add repeatability into it?
No, repeatability is not included in the total. Thing. Okay. So the score range is 4 to 20, okay, for the total. Mine got a 17.
I got a 15.
Yeah, there you go.
So
that's interesting.
This is a good shandy.
But I also think these scorecards work really, really well. We were able to break it down into its constituent parts, and this is just the first time we've ever used them.
Right.
Very first time.
Right.
So please, just bear with the little bit of bugs. But I think we got more across in a short period of time by trying to really think about each constituent part rather than... So yeah, but basically, the shandy was a success, okay? There's a couple things that could be improved for another time, and if you do exactly what we say, yours will probably be better. Maybe yours will be an 18 or even a 20. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.